15 seconds. We're going right on time. Thank you. Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Excited to have you all here and to see a full house. I've been told that there are more chairs on the way, so this is a good problem to have. We've got a couple of chairs, I think, in the front table over here if people are looking for a place to sit down, and I know we've got more that are on their way as well. So, all right, thank you so much for being here. At this time, I invite Carol Sobczak to the podium to do a reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see so many young faces with us today. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Rotary. And today, I would just like Rotarians to reflect on all the successes that they've had in life that brought them to this point that they can be Rotarians and give back to others. Our motto, if you don't know, 50 years, is service above self. So we're very happy to have the opportunity to serve others, and let us remember that we need to give that spirit of service to the young people today so that they can grow up to be good Rotarians in their life, if not in their clubs. So we reflect on our success, and please pass it down to this next generation. So if you'd now join me with the pledge, or in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin our meeting, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Browning Kuzno as this month's meeting sponsor. Thank you to Brent Kuzno for his continued support of Rotary. I hesitate to ask the next question, but if we have any guests and we'd like to introduce them, I encourage you to head to the floor mic to introduce your guests.
President Kevin, my guest is Mary Federkey, who is the Chief Development Officer at United Way.
Mary, welcome.
President Kevin, I have two guests, Tom Bush from Actual Reality, an AI company startup, and Tom Eschen from Toledo Tech Loft.
Tom, Chris, thank you for being here.
Hey, President, I wanted to introduce my money guy from Priority Wealth Partners, Mr. Lionel Brock.
Lionel, thank you for being here.
Mr. President, fellow Rotarians and guests, I would like to introduce my guest today, the new president of Mercy College of Ohio, Dr. Trevor Bates, who will be inaugurated on October 11th.
Dr. Bates, thank you for being here.
Mr. President, I would like to introduce my guest, Diane Brunner. She is president of Davis University right across the street.
Diane, thank you for being here.
President Kevin, my guest today is my younger brother, Steve. He's the president of Citytel and my golf nemesis.
Steve, welcome.
I just want to remind Rotarians that bowling starts early October, and I need some newbies, so just come and see me.
That is not the time nor the place, Mr. Romer. He's
Sorry, I
looking
didn't
for
jump in
guests.
front of him. My apologies. Rotarians and guests, I want to introduce my guest today, Michael Lyman. He is the general manager with the Toledo Club. And I also have another guest that's in line getting lunch right now. Her name is Julie Woods with Fast Signs. And Mackenzie Bryant, my bad.
President Kevin, Tommy, looks like you got some good young prospects for bowling here that have joined us today. I've got a couple guests with me from the Toledo Tomorrow team. Rashad Humes is standing up in dark blue shirt there is our partner manager. Jade Harlett, here is our operations director, and Melvin Jackson, who's our career tech and workforce manager.
Thank you all for being here.
Mr. President, I have a guest from Lord's University. I thought it would be great to bring him today. Nick Dietrich is the campus life person and works in residence life.
All right, at this time, I will invite Karen Rennie Wilkins to the podium. I will talk slowly. You don't have to run. It's all good. Maybe you do. To give us an update on Litter League and the Environmental Services Committee. Something like that.
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon. So a quick show of hands. How many of you would consider yourselves competitive? This is good. This is really good. And willing to sweat. Even better. So tomorrow afternoon, the Environmental Services Committee would like to invite you to participate in what's called the Litter League. And we have a team at Rotary, and this is our last intense effort to place. So we're currently in third place, and Karen, my co-chair, is desperately seeking to move to second place. I think first place is a little out of reach unless we go to the dump. But yeah, so I was charged with finding an appropriate place to have this litter pickup because Kevin has graciously agreed to bring his tricked out fire truck, which has beverages, in case you didn't know about this, adult and non-adult beverages, but that will be part of the happy hour immediately after our litter pickup from 3 to 5. So my challenge has been trying to find a place where there's lots of trash. And I must say, it's been a challenge for me. I am the commissioner of parks for the city of Toledo, and this is a good problem. We don't have as much trash in our parks anymore, but I did find one this morning, and I'm inviting everybody to Wilson Park. It's got a lot of activity over the weekend, and we won't be able to get to clean it up with our staff until Friday. So if we could go there and do our work tomorrow, 3 o'clock. So Wilson Park is right next to Woodward High School, if you're familiar with that area. It's very friendly park during the day, in particular for anybody who's going to consider joining us. Again, 3 o'clock, come dressed appropriately, meaning like lightweight clothes. We will provide gloves and trash pickers and bags and lots of water, and then beverages following. So please join us. Thanks.
At this time, I will invite Karen Stramel and Kara Knoll to the podium for a new member introduction.
Thank you, Kevin. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. It is my distinct honor to introduce new member Kara Knoll. She's actually a very personal, close friend of mine. She is native to the Toledo area, the fourth of 5 siblings, almost the baby. She attended Glendale Fellback Elementary, Burndale Middle, and Bowser High School. She also attended Bowling Green State University. She is the mom to 2 daughters. Chloe is a senior at Anthony Wayne High School, so she's accepting mom hugs this year. And Harper is a 6th grader at Fallen Timbers Middle. Kara's professional background is staffing. She left to pursue other industries, which is where we met. We both worked for Xerox together. And since then, she's made her way back to staffing and is now with Impact Employment Solutions. Staffing is very near and dear to Kara's heart because she's very passionate about helping people with both their careers. And she's also a Ohio licensed realtor with Danbury. So she also enjoys finding homes for people. Kara came to Rotary to become more involved and dedicate more time to help our community. Personally, I'm most impressed by her kindness and her go with the flow attitude. She is also very handy around the house, believe it or not. She has not only created electrical outlets in her home, she's put flooring in. I helped her with that. And she's an avid painter. So if you need her, I see a side gig in the future for her. Um, her pet peeves are slow drivers, same, laziness, and making excuses. So I would like for you all to give her a warm welcome. Please welcome Kara Null. Give me a hug.
Thank you.
We're also adding as a gift to all of our new members a copy of Historical Tales of Toledo. So we have a couple of those. I want to take a minute. I want to acknowledge, I've had a handful of you approach me over the last couple of weeks saying, hey, did you see that thing I put in the meeting notes, in the survey? Did you see what we said? There wasn't enough water. We didn't start on time. I didn't like that program. It's funny. We get a couple people will say, hey, that wasn't my cup of tea. And a couple people say, this was the greatest thing I've ever heard. And that's great. That means the program committee is doing its job and bringing in programs that are going to challenge us and bringing programs that are going to be exciting for us as well. I will say, when we get comments related to catering, food, setup, things like that, we work immediately with the Glass City Center staff to address those needs. And we appreciate that feedback. We get on it right away. Last week, there was a comment that we didn't start, there were several comments that we didn't start the meeting on time. And I agree with you. Half of our attendees were still out in line getting food at 12 o'clock. So I say this to say, I'm going to do everything in my power to ring that bell at exactly noon. If you can do everything in your power to be in those seats at exactly noon. So that might mean coming a little bit early, especially when we know we've got popular programs like this. So that said, thank you very much. Continue filling out those surveys. We appreciate the feedback. All right, so let's get to today's program. I am very excited about the program. The program committee said they wanted August to be about back to school, about education. And when I heard about this unique collaboration, it was like, this has to be one of our programs, not just because the president of Lourdes University, Dr. Bill Bissett, is a member of our club, but also because he's taken an innovative approach to partner with Junior Achievement on something that we think is, that I personally feel is addressing a challenge that our community has known about for decades. And now it'll take a big solution to a big problem. And this just might be it. So with that said, I am proud to introduce the CEO of Junior Achievement, Mr. Jim Pollock, and the president of Lourdes University, Dr. Bill Bissett.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. It is an honor and a humble blessing to be here in front of you to talk about what we think is a transformational way that's going to disrupt the education system as it currently exists. Those people that know me and know me well know that I always start with why. Why do you get out of bed? What is your cause? What is your purpose? And why should anybody care? And we feel like this is one of those solutions that could address why this is so important. So Dom, if you could roll the quick clip.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce says every state faces a worker shortage crisis.
No one can find employees like me, especially in the CPA world.
Men in their prime working years are actually not working. The result is a major hole in the American economy.
The industry is going to be short of technicians for years into the future. The industry's been facing it for years. Obviously, the pandemic exacerbated the problem.
Colleges around the country are reporting more cases of depression, anxiety, and suicide among students more than ever before.
Another day older, deeper in debt is how I feel. I feel that it's a huge thing I'll never get out from under.
There's more student loan debt than there's all car loans. There's more student debt than there's all credit card debt.
The cost of a four-year education at a public university has risen by by 213%.
52% of them after graduating are underemployed. It means working in a job that typically does not require a bachelor's degree. So we were promised you go get this job, guaranteed pay, benefits, da 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 da. But that promise is no longer as accurate as it once used to be.
And they were like, but what do you mean it's not suited for you? You've been saying you want to go to college. And I only told them that because that's what they wanted me to do. That's not what I really wanted to do.
And the top two reasons undergrads considered pausing their education were for emotional stress and personal mental health.
According to the CDC, the rates of suicide, self-harm, anxiety, and depression are up among adolescents, a trend that began before the pandemic.
We know that entirely too many students are graduating from high school without a clear path for what is next. They don't understand all of their options. They certainly can't see what their future could look like because they live in a current education system that doesn't get them out, doesn't let them explore, and doesn't give them the opportunity to build relationships to see what their future could look like. I truly believe the education system is broken, and I say that with a loving heart as the president of the university sits next to me. It's not the people inside of the system. I think some of the educators and administrators and teachers are some of the most underpaid, underappreciated, overworked professionals I've ever had a chance to work with. But the reality is, if you're paying attention to what's happening to our kids that are graduating from high school, they don't know what to do next. And what you see here in the room today is 30 of the inaugural fifth-year students. Fifth year, you may say, what is fifth year? Fifth year is a 9-month deliberate career discovery journey in collaboration with Lourdes University. These 30 young people are in the room, represent 13 different high schools. They are all recent graduates, either of 2024, or we have a few that graduated in 2023. They will spend the next 9 months deliberately discovering what their future could look like. Every Monday, they're going to work on professional and life skill development in collaboration with our corporate partners. Every Tuesday, they're going to go see 2 different companies. They're going to do 2 site visits. So you may imagine in the morning, they're going to Mercy Health, and in the afternoon, they're going to Owens Corning. That'll repeat every Tuesday. Every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they all have paid internships. Well, they'll go to a place of employment and do it. We call it an internship. You can think work-based experience, ideally aligned with something that they're interested in. They all graduated thinking, I want to go do this, or I think I want to go do that. These internships will be aligned with that. They give them a chance to actively discover and explore, to validate if this is something I actually want to do for the rest of my career. At the end of their 5th year, so in May 7th of 2025, the inaugural class of 5th-year students will graduate from the 5th year. They will have seen over 50 different companies. We will have elevated their professional skills, their life skills, their financial knowledge. They're all going to understand how to budget. They're all going to understand how to live in less than they can make. They're all going to have opened investment accounts and started to understand how to save and invest for their future. And ideally, they all are on a pathway and on fire for what is next. To our knowledge, there is nothing like this that currently exists in the country. There are gap years. There are places you can go to figure out, hopefully, what you want to do next. Nothing has been developed as deliberate as this is. This idea came to be 5 years ago. And for the last 5 years, many people told us and our team that's here, you're never going to get the president of a university to buy into what you're doing. There's no way the higher education system is going to accept the fact that you're stealing kids from college. I want to be very clear. This is not a college is bad. This is not a don't go to college. This is about why not spend a year, meet the community members, meet the business leaders, start to spend days and time in what you think you want to do before you have to make that decision. Some of these kids, sure, kids, I can't say kids, I apologize. Young people, some of these young people will probably end up going on to college. Some may go directly in the workforce. Some may go on to a 2-year degree or get a credential or certificate or whatever it is. But to the Rotarians in the room, know that you have 30 young people around you at their table that are starving and hungry for connections, for opportunities to spend this year deliberately discovering it. And it was in September that I was introduced to Bill Bissett, and I had never met the guy. I knew he was new on campus. And Mary Sabin and Sharon Spire get the credit for this. They said, you got to go meet Bill. And I sat down with Bill, and one of the key components of the 5th year was they all got to get out of their house. You can't live at home to be part of the 5th year. You've got to move out. So they all live on the campus of Lourdes in the student housing. And that was a key component because whether you have a great home life or a bad home life, great parents, no parents, incredible upbringing, not maybe a troubled path, it didn't matter. You got to get out. You got to learn how to be independent on your own. And you may say, well, Jim, that seems like you coming up with these ideas. The research, the foundation from the 5th year was developed off of senior students in our region. So last school year, we went around and talked to groups of senior students in a dozen different high schools, from Anthony Wayne in Perrysburg to Rogers and Joan Leadership Academy, Whitmer, Toledo School for the Arts, Rogers. I'm going to miss some of the schools we went to talk to, and basically asked the students 2 questions. What are your biggest fears and concerns when you graduate from high school? And what skills don't you have that you think you're going to need when you graduate? If I laid out all the answers on the table and I showed you all the Post-it notes and all the responses, none of you could tell me which school they came from. Because what I quickly learned is it doesn't matter what school you're at, they're all struggling with very similar issues. Whether you're in the heart of the city in Toledo Public Schools or you're in the suburban private Catholic schools, they're all struggling with money. They don't understand it. They don't understand student loans. They're all scared of becoming independent. They're all scared of picking their next pathway and failing on it. And that is the basis for how this 5th year was developed. So when I went and sat down with Bill and I said, here, I got a crazy idea for you. What do you think about this? And within 3 minutes, maybe, I don't even think I got through my first few sentences and Bill says, we're in. Mind you, to that point, I've been told by so many people, you got no chance of getting a president of a university to buy into something different and something creative and innovative. So Bill, if I could put you back in that, I'm going to go back to that time and that day and the period. What was it? Why did you think that this could be something that Lourdes would get excited about?
Well, what you're not mentioning is that ended up being almost a 4-hour meeting. So 3 minutes into the meeting, I said yes, and he still didn't stop talking 4 hours later.
And that is true. That is true.
So I was like, what did I just agree to?
That's right.
No,
my team out here is laughing
true.
hysterically right now.
Right, everyone that knows Jim knows that's the case.
Very true.
So look, what you just saw a clip, and I've seen this clip a couple of times before, and it shows, it makes you feel like, and Jim's right, higher ed is broken in many ways, and we are in a dire situation in this country as it relates to higher education. But I do still feel that the best investment that a family can make is higher education. We just have to do a better job over the 4, 5, 6 years that we have students, getting them ready for life after graduation. For those of you that know me, you've heard me say this before, but for those of you that don't, my path to the presidency was a little bit different than most. I'm not an academic. I've been in higher education for 37 years. I have a PhD, but I've never been in a classroom. I mean, I've been in a classroom as a student, but I never taught. My background is in enrollment management, admissions and financial aid, and student affairs. And for years, when I was especially in admissions work, and I would talk to young people, I mean, the first question we ask young people as admissions people, and even you do it yourselves when you talk to somebody that's about to graduate from high school, what's the first question you ask? Where are you going to college? And what are you going to study, right? Probably the 2 not worst questions that you can ask a student as they're starting off at this young point in their life. But when you really think about, at 17 years old, the limited life experiences that you've had, it's almost impossible to be able to answer that question definitively. And just to give you an indication of why we are so broken in higher education these days, we don't even measure graduation rates over a 4-year basis anymore. We measure graduation rates, and we actually incentivize colleges and universities to graduate students not in 4 years, but in 5 and 6 years. That is unacceptable, folks. That's why we have pretty much condemned an entire generation to debt. That's why, and I have some fellow presidents here in the room with me, and they know what I'm talking about when I say this. That's why, and we should be challenged about this. That's why we are challenged as university and college presidents. And that's why higher ed is challenged to basically justify what we are doing with 18 to 22-year-olds over a 4, 5, 6-year basis. And so when Jim presented this idea to me, especially based off of my experiences in higher education, I really did, my first reaction was, hey, Jim, I mean, we've been waiting for this for a long time. I've had the opportunity over the last few months, in the last couple days, to meet the 30 students from the Junior Achievement 5th-year program on our campus. One thing you should know about this program, and this is a testament to Jim and his staff, because this was an emphasis from day one, these are not unfocused young people that are just putting off college for a year to, quote, find themselves. These are very focused young people that are coming into this program laser focused on what it is they want to get out of life and what they want to do a year from now if they choose to go on to college. Again, quite frankly, I pay my mortgage by basically whether or not enough 18 to 22-year-olds come to my university. But if we're a revolving door and we're just basically bringing students in, they're not focused, they're not sure what they want to do with their lives in the 4 years that we have them, they drop out, they transfer, they never go back to college. We're not serving, whether it's at Lord's University or whether it's at any other college or university in the country, we're not serving those young people well. And we all know, and maybe some of us even have examples in our own home of young people that started with all the positive energy in the world, a college or university educational experience, only to find a year later that they weren't at the right place, they weren't in the right major, and they just really weren't sure they were there. And, I don't want to say that's a waste of a year, but you do have to regroup when you find yourself in that situation. And chances are there's an economic downfall for the family because of that. So what Jim and his team and the 30 pioneer students that we will, that have already moved into their resident hall experiences at Lord's are doing here in Northwest Ohio is literally, I think, without sounding, too much of an exaggeration, this is a national movement that is beginning to really pick up speed. It's beginning to pick up speed, obviously, in other chapters nationally with Junior Achievement. And even I've had a number of my colleagues throughout the country that have called saying, hey, what's going on, with this program that you're doing in conjunction with Junior Achievement, because we'd like to be in on it too. So, and take pride in that this is happening in our region. And for those of you that are involved and are going to be working with these young people in this next year, thank you. For those of you that are just hearing about this for the first time, we're happy to tell you even more about all the great things that are happening. But the other thing too, quite frankly, Lord's is a special place. We do, for those of you that are familiar with what we do over in Sylvania, I mean, we really do purposeful work. And when I look to partner with outside organizations, the first thing I ask, in all seriousness, is do they share our mission? And our mission at the end of the day is to provide transformational experiences for our young people and for even our not so young people, our graduate students and our lifelong learners. And I can tell you just in the very, very short time that this program has been in existence at Lord's, what's happening is definitely transformational for the students and for the families of those students that are entrusting us with their care over the next year or so. So again, stay tuned, but what's happening here in Northwest Ohio is something that really is beginning to see national attention. And, I don't do this enough publicly, but thank you, Jim, for bringing this to us. It really was almost providential that day that you came to campus and you had this idea. So thanks again.
Thanks. And I'm sure there's some of you in the room that thinking you showed up to Junior Achievement, and I'm what I hear quite a bit is I remember Junior Achievement back when I was young. We made coat hangers and cookie sheets and key, all this stuff. We went out and sold it. Yes, incredible organization. That ceased to exist here in Toledo 28 years ago, I think, at least. So you immediately date yourself, by the way, just so you know, when you come up and you say, I know where you are in age, but you can't hide it because that doesn't exist. I was blessed to take over this role 6 years ago, and I quickly found a need in our community because I'd watched my 3 kids graduate from high school doing everything you're supposed to do and walk across the stage and go, Dad, what do I do next? And I quickly realized that the system hadn't changed in the 30 years since I graduated. This is a life journey for me. I believe I am here in this place in this time for a specific reason, because we are going to transform the world. And these young people that are here today, they deserve a lot of credit. Don't underestimate the decision they had to make to be a part of something that's unproven. All throughout the spring of last spring, we went around and spoke to different high schools, their senior classes, and these 30 people basically raised their hand and said, I want to do something different because I'm not sure what I'm doing next, and I don't want to spend a ton of money without knowing what I'm going to do. This whole year, at its crux, comes down to a couple things, and it's no different than all of you in the room. It comes down to experiences. We have got to get our young people out and able to experience hands-on what their futures could be. To Bill's point, we expect them to graduate at 17, 18 years old and say, this is what I want to go do, having never actually done it. They may have never experienced it, or they don't even know that it exists. How could they pick it if they've never seen it? So that is part of the goal for this year, is to get them out to see and experience what that future could look like. And you all, whether you knew it or not, are part of the first day of their 5th year experience. Today is day 1. And if you think about, yeah. You are all part of something that I hope and believe 5 years you'll look back and say, I remember those first group of 5th year students when they came to Rotary. But more importantly, they are here because I want them to engage. We want them to engage with you, to start having conversations. So I encourage you, while you're here, talk about your companies, talk about what you do, talk about opportunities, talk about things that you need and want in your future workforce. What are the challenges? They are all going to spend the year soaking up and meeting as many people as they possibly can. If you think about your businesses and your space, I'm going to bet it boils down to relationships. It boils down to people you know, people you got introduced to, connections you've made, things that you went and experienced. Why do we expect anything else from our young people? And Bill jokingly talked about the high school graduation, which is what I've said. I've said they show up and they get asked 2 questions. Where are you going to school and what are you going to major? I'd love them to flip the script and ask the people that are asking the questions, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Because most people are still trying to figure it out. Yeah. Right? I mean, honestly. All of you probably are sitting in, so some of you in the room going, boy, this isn't what I want to do. I really wish I could figure it out. And I'm telling you, there is no 45th year or 52nd year or 37th year currently. That's coming in future years. But for now, it's just the 5th year. But go ahead, yeah.
And just so 2 other things too. The one thing that this program is not, a lot of people have asked me, is this just like a gap year? Some of you may be familiar with that concept of the gap year. You graduate from high school, you go and, travel throughout wherever and try to find yourself.
Backpacking Europe. Yeah.
Exactly. Right, Jim? I mean,
yes.
This is not just a reinvented gap year. This is an opportunity for these students to be immersed in a university environment, but as Jim said, really get out there and figure out what's going on in that world that they know nothing about. The other thing too that I think we talk a lot about, not just at the higher ed level, but even at the secondary educational level, is the fact that our young people today lack soft skills, right? They have difficulty, even when they get to that point, when they're graduated from college, interviewing for their first jobs. They have difficulty in many cases just kind of dealing with some of the day-to-day social issues that, as we know professionally, are just the norm. I mean, you have to figure things out. You have to figure out how to get yourself around. You have to figure out how to communicate with people. What I love about this program, and on Friday, and I'm looking at some of the students too, because surprised you. We had our annual service day throughout Toledo. We had our first year students at Lourdes and the junior achievement 5th year students doing service projects throughout Toledo. And I stopped at a couple of, and there were a couple of times, and we had a number of upperclassmen that were also working on some of these service trips. I was talking with junior achievement 5th year students, and I didn't even realize that they were junior achievement 5th year students. I thought they were our upperclassmen. So they're bringing something, like I said before, in terms of focus to this experience, which I didn't expect to see. But again, I think Jim has already, with his team, begun the preparation for what they will be expected to do off campus in that corporate type of experience.
Yeah, this
I
is
think it's
certainly not a
fantastic.
cushy gap year backpacking around Europe. So they all had to pick a different path. Like, I'm not going to understate this enough. They bought into something that was unproven, and to get their parents to believe in something that didn't exist, they get all the credit in the world. But I loved when you talked about, I know Rotary's all about service above self and giving back. The fact that they jumped right out of the gate in day one, they're doing a community service project. 1 month, one Monday a month, they will all be doing community service projects. Community service is near and dear to me, and giving back is a crucial part of the 5th year, above and beyond the life skill development and professional skill development. It's about giving back to your community. So I don't know. I mean, Bill and I we can sit up here and talk back and forth for a little bit. I really would like to open it up for questions and from all of you. But as we're doing that, I'm going to have a couple of the students come up and sit up here with us. I'll introduce them. And then Dom, as I'm doing this, as we're grabbing your chairs, Dom's going to play another 1-minute clip video for why we're doing this. This was from the press conference on January 10th. We publicly launched the 5th year. Now, granted, 6 months ago, now 8 months ago, this didn't exist. We brought it to life on January 10th, and what you're seeing today is the start of something transformational. But I would love nothing more than for you to hear from them. So I would encourage you to ask questions of them. I'm going to have Amani Sparks. She's a graduate of Jones Leadership Academy in 2024. You can come on up, Amani. And Emma Young, there's Emma. She graduated from Whitmer High School in May of 2024 as well. While they're coming up here, I'm going to grab a couple seats and I'm going to show you, Dom, run this clip.
The 5th year is going to illuminate an alternative path, one that doesn't immediately saddle our graduates with college debt or financial burdens, and actually launches them into the world of work with guidance and coaching.
The 5th year is exactly what higher education needs. I'm of the opinion that what you are hearing about today is not only just going to be a regional movement. This, folks, is going to be a national movement. This 5th year program is brilliant.
The Toledo community benefits from a program like JA 5th year.
The reason this is different is that it is built on the input of the kids.
The 5th year is a promise to families. It's a promise that your loved one will have an opportunity to discover their true calling, charting a course towards a future that aligns with their dreams and giving them an extra layer of support as they navigate a period of life that is quite confusing.
During that press conference, I was standing off to the side and I told you this was my life journey. I have had more career moments in the last 11 months than I have in the first 27 years, and it's not even close. I'm standing off to the side of the room watching I think 4 of the most influential people in our community stand up one after another, saying this is an incredible thing. I almost had an out of body experience. I'm like, who am I? Why am I sitting here? Why am I even part of this? But it's because of all of you. It's business leaders, it's the community. This does not work without community members, organizational leaders that are providing the opportunities, that are providing the space for the kids to engage. It is because of you. And we'll throw in some of these tidbits still as we answer questions. But I want to real quickly, until somebody has a question, I hope somebody has a question, give Bill and the Lord's team all of the credit in the world, because from that first meeting when I sat down with him and we pitched this crazy idea and he said we're in, and as Bill alluded to, 4 hours later we had it all figured out and it was day one. We didn't quite realize it was going to take another 11 months to actually do it, but we got here to where we are. Every single person at Lord's, from the provost to all the deans, to the admissions, to academics, to anybody, couldn't have been more excited about doing something different. So if you see somebody from Lourdes, make sure you give them kudos and a high five, because I was not anticipating that open, welcoming support. And to say that these students on the campus fit in would be an understatement. They all have IDs and badges. They are what is considered non-degree seeking Lourdes students. They have full access to the food court and the recreation center, and anything a kid that's doing on campus, they can do. They're just not sitting in any classrooms, except for one. They have one career discovery class every Monday morning from 9 to 10:15. Other than that, the rest of their week is deliberately discovering their career. And this is not a cush pathway. We're keeping them busy from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So if you want to talk about, Bill alluded to kids being dedicated and committed, they had to be dedicated and committed to be part of this program. We didn't want slackers. We didn't want kids that just, that wanted a year to go figure out something else. I got nothing else to do, so I'm going to go do this. We wanted kids that really wanted to discover what they wanted to do. So I would love to ask, thank you, Mark. I'm trying to stall for a little while until somebody would stand up there. I would love for you to ask a question.
As one of those individuals that was a part of the old JA program and still have all my teeth and much of my hair, but not all, and worked for Junior Achievement for 5 years. One of the things that I think this is a phenomenal and I believe transformational program for our community. And so thank you for all the partners that are involved. I think another, and this isn't a question, or maybe it's kind of a question. I've been texting our president of Rotary while we're in this meeting because something kind of inspired me. We have a Rotaract group, which is young professionals and college individuals, and our new Rotaract club, which is one of the best ones in the world, actually, here in Toledo. For sure, and some of them are here, I see. And we have our first member that moved from Rotaract into Rotary right here. Congratulations. But what I think we can do is maybe assure that the fifth-year program participants are a member of Rotaract. And I think we're discovering a way to do that, to be involved in that program. So we'll be talking about that later. Kevin committed to it. I kind of committed to some. So we're going to be asking for a couple sponsors to help out with this. So, and I think it's important because I think it leverages the beauty of Rotary with all this. And I know we already have, but I think that's another element that we can bring to the table as Rotary. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Mark.
So Mark stole a little bit of my thunder because that's actually why I came up here to talk about that. But also within that, there's also Interact, which is the younger version of Rotaract, which is high school students. So that's really not only Rotaract, but also Interact audiences that we need to engage in. But also, as a mom of a 12-year-old, I always think like, well, what's my kid going to do? You know, he thinks he's going to go play for the Premier League in England somewhere, but the likelihood is small, right? But he can dream, and I love that. But I think of like, well, what if he gets to this point and doesn't know what to do? So as a mom, taking off my hat, my business professional hat, I appreciate this opportunity for those that do struggle with what they're going to do, but have the passion for something, right? But also, my question is this. So I had a statement, sorry, but my question is, I know this is a first year program, right? For this, is this the first in the whole nation, or is it been modeled somewhere else? And like, where did the idea come from?
First in the nation. It's a crazy idea. In June of 2019, I stood up. I had just been hired 4 months ago. And I stood up at our annual board meeting and I said, we're going to create a deliberate career discovery year. We're going to embrace post-high school. And we're going to figure it out, because I had my kids graduating from high school not knowing what they were doing. And Mike McGowan, I know he's not here. If he were here, he'd be laughing at me right now. He's with Shoemaker Loop. He comes up to me after that meeting and he said, Jim, this is not why we hired you. And I'm very concerned about what you're doing. So this has been in the works for 5 years. So it didn't just all magically come apart in the last 10 months. The pieces and components that are the fifth year, the site visits, the job shadows, the learning, the professional skills, the internships, we've proven these out over the last few years. We have kids now that are going into their junior year at UT that did internships as high school seniors that are now with the same company. We have kids that we've connected with organizations through site visits and job shadows that are now employed. So the components we know work. This is just branding it and pulling it together, but it is the first of its in the country. It's the first in the JA world. So we are putting little JA Toledo on the map in a big way, and you all are part of it.
My question is about the selection process. When you chose these kids, did you look at their GPA? Or they underwent some kind of aptitude testing that they will fit in the program?
No, GPA was not a qualification. They just had to have graduated from high school. So truthfully, I still don't know what some of their GPA, I don't know. They had to have graduated from high school. I would tell you from what I know, having spent time with all 30 of these kids, I've watched a social experiment unfold in front of my eyes, because as part of it, they had to interview, and some brought a parent, two parents, no parents, caseworker, different levels of family life they brought with them. But GPA was not one of them. We were looking for the drive and commitment and dedication to discover something, and knew that if they were willing to commit to that, we were going to provide the space for them, regardless of what their GPA was. As long as they graduated, we're going to do everything we can to get them connected with what their next pathway.
Thank you very much. In my case, I grew up in Pakistan, and from age 13, I was driven to be a doctor because my brother was a doctor. Thank you.
Yep, sure.
Very great presentation. Thank you both for all of you for being here. My question is cost. Do the students pay to be in the program? And if not, where does your funding come from?
Yes and yes. Great question. It is, well, I would say yes, the students pay to be in the program. There is no, at least for this first year, there is no upfront tuition and admission. Cost was not a barrier to entry. That was one thing that we could not have be a barrier to entry. But I mentioned earlier briefly that they're all doing paid internships or paid workspace experiences. From the money they earn, certain percentage of that are going back. So they are all going to get paid, and then we're going to teach them how to budget. 25% of what they earn is going to go towards their rent and utilities. 15% is going to go towards their food. The rest is going to be up to them to figure out how to live and survive. The rest of the funding is coming through all generous corporate partners, individuals. You all in the room, you won't be allowed to leave until you sign something committee. But in collaboration with funding, I know Keith Burwell is here somewhere. If he's not, the Greater Toledo Community Foundation, huge believers in what we're doing, aligning us with foundations and support. It's a blended mix of foundations. You all actually committed $10,000 to this, whether you knew it or not, thanks to Kevin and Michelle Klinger. So we're looking for anybody that believes in what we're doing to help fund it. Good question.
I just want to thank the four of you all being up there. Thank you. This is a very inspiring program, exciting program. And the fact that you brought first day here, it's an honor for our club. And so for all of you sitting at the tables with us, thank you so much. I'd love to hear from Emma and from Imani. Also, I would say, you know, Rotarians worldwide, it's about people that are focused on action, people of action. And furthermore, you heard earlier mentioned at the podium, service above self. That's a core tenet of ours. So I would ask you, give us three tangible things. I know there's sponsorship, three really specific tangible things that we as Rotarians can do to help you all in this next year and hopefully the years after. And lastly, I just have to mention, like Tommy did, something else. I brought 25 Love Your Neighbor signs. They're out at the sign-in point. Please take them because I don't want to put them back in my car. But please, if you would let us know a little bit more. Thank you.
Three things. I'm gonna make a couple comments and I'll pass it to them just to have them say why, I guess, why you're in fifth year. I made a brief mention of this earlier. This is a community collaboration. This is not a JA thing and this is not a Lord's thing. This is a community-wide endeavor. It takes all of us to pull this off. This week is their boot camp week, is what we're calling it, boot camp week. It's not, you know, military push-ups and pull-ups, although there may be some of that. I don't know. But every day this week, they're doing something different. Today, it started with Rotary. We've got them doing, the Metro Parks have them for a day. The Art Museum has them for the day. Toledo Zoo has them for the day. Leadership Toledo is involved with them. There's a bunch of different organizations and community collaborators that are part of helping them team build and get to know each other and start to just connect with the community. So this is way beyond us. Way beyond us. We're just the two figureheads, I guess, you put up here, but it's revolves around all of you to pull this off. 3 initiatives. You asked, I guess it was 3 things that you need from us. 3. What can you do? Host a job site visit. If you are a leader at a company, be willing to raise your hand and say, we'd love to have these 30 kids to come out, 30 young people, I apologize, 30 young people come out and see what they're doing. Consider hiring one of them as an intern, creating space. We have over 20 companies right now that are going to be hiring all of them to help think about it. The third is if you're interested in engaging with them on a deeper level, every Monday afternoon, we're doing a workshop on professional skill development. And it starts this afternoon. Actually, Michelle and some of the Rotarians are going to be working with this group this afternoon for a couple hours. And I'm not even sure what the segment is on, but every Monday there's different workshops on professional and soft skill development. Those are our 3 big needs. So if anybody is willing to sign up for one of those or be a part of those, and that was going to be part of my close, but we've got more information in a table out there that you can grab. And I think, Dom, you can even flip to the next slide, and up on the background, it'll take you to our website, or shoot me an email or ways you want to get involved. But I'm going to pass to Emma and Amani, and I guess just give us a quick overview of why you're in 5th year, why you chose to be part of something different, or whatever you want to say, really.
So I went to Whitmer, and I was a 4.0 student from the time I was a freshman till I was a senior. And I remember vividly sitting in a classroom not knowing what I wanted to do. If I went to college right now, I would have gone undecided, and I would potentially waste a lot of money not knowing what I wanted to do. And I vividly remember Jim coming to Whitmer, talking about it, and the worst that can happen is that I got to live on my own for a year. That doesn't seem too bad to me. And and the other worst thing is I can go to college and I'll graduate a year later than what I was supposed to do. And I just wanted to be a part of something different. And yeah.
As stated before, I'm from Jones Leadership Academy of Business. It's not too far from here on Nebraska. I was very fortunate, actually, since my sophomore year to be working with JA. They held Stock Market Challenge. I was able to attend a lot of site visits, and thanks to them, I got to weigh my options because I like to do a lot of things. But thanks to the site visits, I know, oh, this isn't my type of field, or wow, this exists, I'd like to look into it more. And so that's why I was so excited that they had a program for me after high school, because I'm art geared. So I don't have to go to have to go to college in order for me to do my animation and illustration. But I would also enjoy the degree for animation because that's more likely to get me into companies. So now I'm on the edge. I don't know which one to pick. This gives me a little bit of everything. I can live the college life and understand it and look into the Lord's programs to see if I want to further my education, or I can take the skills that they're going to teach me on how to be independent and run my own family, whether I'm buying, renting, or leasing, and the smarter choices for if I take a step out on my own instead of school. And I will say with those 3 things that were asked of us, I would love to be involved more. As a student, I've always loved being involved, talking to people, introducing people to the things that I was introduced to because I know most don't know. And so I love to go out into the community, and I'm interested in the Rotarian. I'm interested into the younger version of that, and I'd love to be a part of that, actually.
As you're coming up, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So as you're asking the next question, they didn't know they were coming up here till 15 minutes, like 5 minutes before this. I said, hey, I got a crazy idea, which is how my team, I'm like, anybody really want to sit up on stage and answer questions? And these two put their hands up immediately. So.
Question I had was like, what was your thought process about going into this program? But I'll also say that I think this is a wonderful alternative for workforce development. So I'm going to sort of switch my question a little bit. After I state this, I work for a staffing company, and we have the ability to tour you through different locations that we do business with. So we're offering that with Impact Employment Solutions for you all to to maybe join us and do some site visits to different manufacturing facilities or businesses that we currently do business with. So my next question, go on the workforce development as a member of the Vocational Services Committee since I've been a Rotarian. Can you describe to me where you think this workforce development is going to take you? Because I know, Amani, you just said art, but is it business of art, or is it the actual creativity of art?
You want to take?
Or both of you, I'm curious, are your opinions?
Okay, so I've thought I wanted to just do the art. Like, I'm going to be the star of the show. I'm going to draw everything and animate everything. But as I got older and started working in teams, I realized it's going to take so much more, and that there's more behind the scenes that actually brings it to life. And so I'm fortunate enough to actually possibly have my first semester internship with the Toledo Art Museum. And I was introduced to a lot of their sections, two of which were the Family Center and the Planning and Programming. I would think I'd want to do the Family Center. I can work with the families on arts and crafts and make different projects with them. You know, that's really art geared. But I actually found the Planning and Programming more interesting, where they plan their bigger art events like the Great Art Escape or the Block Party. And there's art in everything, which I grew up finding out. Like, I thought it was just you have to draw or you have to make music. I thought those were only arts, but there's art in the business side, which I'm very fortunate to know. And so I'm actually going to end up doing the planning and programming more so. And I'd like to look into all revenues of arts, like marketing, for example. And yeah, so not just the core art, but everything art is my interest now, thanks to this.
Well, my internship is at First Solar, and I will say I had no idea what First Solar was until I interviewed for it. And then they explained to me that I can make solar panels. I never saw myself making solar panels or even like trying to. And so now I'm really excited about to do it. And then after I do my couple weeks of learning how to make the solar panels, I'll be able to teach people how to make the solar panels. Yeah. And I'm really excited about that part. But like, it's kind of, I feel like everything will come full circle. And I feel like this is kind of what the program is about, is being experienced in different things so I can make the decision if I want to go to college and for what.
Jim, if it's okay, I don't have a comment first.
You do you, Bob. You have at it.
And it was glad to hear Amani and Emma speak. And as much as I love my friends Bill and Jim, this question's not for you guys.
Thank you.
What maybe anything else with what you're looking forward to in the program this next year, and kind of why you came into the program, and maybe a little bit and if there's anything not related to what you're studying, in your case, so something electronics or solar or the arts and graphics. And by the way, it sounds like both of you are headed on to really neat things. Great to hear.
What I'm probably most excited about is living alone. I graduated high school, and again, everyone's asking me, what are you doing after this? I'm doing something different, and I'm already enjoying it. It's the first day of boot camp, and I'm already loving my life right now. Because if I went to college like everyone else, I would have like a regular 8 to 5 schedule, whatever, and then work to pay off my debt. This time, I don't have to. I have one class, I get to tour a bunch of different places, and I have internship that I never thought I would work at ever. And because when I graduated high school, I had two like ideas, either teaching or welding. Those are completely different ends of the spectrum. And like, they're giving me a chance to explore both of those. And like, I don't know. And I have like 29 new best friends. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I will say, like her last point, my favorite part about the program is being forced into situations that you can't learn in the classroom. Like, a lot of people talk about the highs and the best parts or the debt. I'm actually more interested in the things people don't talk about, the dangers, the things that you're going to fall into without knowing, and how to actually handle situations with other people. I think my favorite part about living in the dorms on Lourdes is living with somebody else, not a family member, nobody I knew. I just met them like a month ago and now we're living together. And so now I have to learn how to navigate that. Not just like the expenses and stuff, but like, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? How are we going to do this together? What happens if we don't get along? Like, how do I handle these situations? I like to be aware of the bad things so I can handle them and then teach, like, for example, my younger sisters, oh yeah, I went through that. This is the best way to go through it. But I just feel like the firsthand experience for people interactions is the biggest key for this.
Logan.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to add something too. I think that what we're doing right now, networking, meeting people, because as a fresh high school graduate, I never imagined myself being able to come in a room full of business people and just get to say what I like. I want to meet everybody. I want to know everyone know that I'm here. Come and find me.
Yeah, Logan.
I just think that I would love to have the opportunity to network. I want to know everybody.
Yeah.
I would, for you, for example, are you looking for an employer? Maybe I want to start a business. Maybe I want to work for you. I don't know. And learning about everything that goes on in the community, I get to find out what I like. And I don't even know. I just graduated high school. I just want to learn. And this is the best place to do it.
Thank you, Logan. So Logan graduated from Maumee in 2024. So I think that's a wrap, Kevin, right? No more questions. I'm thankful that you all are here. I would encourage you to spend a few minutes on your way out to introduce yourself to one of our fifth-year students. Please, I love your question teeing up the 3 things. We need employers that are willing to offer internships in the spring semester. We're looking for different exposure for all of them. We're looking for as many business leaders and organization and community leaders that are willing to connect with them through Monday afternoon workshops and professional skills. Or if you've got a company that's willing to host a site visit. On your way out, Erica, where's my team? Can you guys stand up, our team, real quick? I did not give them enough kudos. And the Lord's people in the room. Lords, where are all the Lord's folks in the rooms? If you guys could stand up, like. Again, Bill and I are up here. We get to be the blessed, be the figureheads, but we do nothing. And my team's laughing like they know I don't do much. In fact, the joke is the quicker we can get Jim out of the way, the things actually happen. So thank you to everybody. Mr. Mullen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Jim, Bill. Thank you for your presentation. As usual, we've got copies of Historical Tales of Toledo as a way of saying thank you. We're also going to make a donation. Bill, as you know, Jim, this might be new for you. In an effort to help eradicate polio from the face of the earth, Rotary has committed itself in the 80s to make that happen. We're going to make a donation in both of your names to the Polio Plus Fund to help with that. I want to hand the microphone real quickly before we leave to Michelle Klinger. Jim referenced Rotary's contribution to junior achievement. It's through our vocational services committee, and Michelle has sort of developed this really cool thing that's going to happen immediately after this meeting. So with that, the chair of vocational services.
All right. So what we're going to try to do today is we're going to give everybody, all the students, a 5-minute break, but then we're going to ask the students to come up to the front tables or the frontmost tables. But any Rotarians, especially my vocational service committee members that want to hang out afterwards, we're going to do some hands-on things at the table. And we'll be doing this 3 more times. So 3 different topics throughout the year. So you're going to see these 5th-year students again. They're going to be back. We're going to do professional development for them following our Rotary luncheon meeting. And yes, this is part of an internal grant from the Vocational Services Committee. And we hope a really long partnership with Jim and JA and all of you. So thanks very much.
If you walk away with nothing else, know that Jim and I are both wearing the exact same shoes today. And perhaps more importantly, Jim and Amani have the same color hair. Who knew? Thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our presenters. Thank you to all of our trailblazers from the 5th year program for being a part of this. We're excited to see you guys a few more times this year, and you're welcome to come anytime you want. We'd love to have you here Mondays at noon. With that, we are adjourned. Go make it a great day.